Here's the deal. When I was a kid, my family moved from the Bay Area to San Diego. These two areas are about an hour and a half by plane, but an 8-hour drive. And when you have two young kids, I guess it made more financial sense for my parents to drive us between the two areas when we wanted to visit friends and family. What this meant for me is that I had a lot of road trip experience when I was a kid. And back in the days of no smartphones, it made more sense for us to open a book. All this to say, I have a lot of fond memories of reading in the car as a kid. And when my husband and I decided to go on a road trip, I thought maybe I'll try to bring that back. All in all, I think it was a big success. So I'll just, roll the tapes back to day one and see what you think. So my husband and I are going on a road trip to pick up some furniture and boxes that my parents left in California during their move, and I have a whole stack of books that I want to read when I'm not actively driving. So we're gonna bring you along with us, okay? So right now I'm reading The Ruthless Lady's Guide to Wizardry, which is written by the same author as one of my current favorite reads, Unnatural Magic. I mean, the cover's the same and it's clearly the same world, like it's used the same words for magic, but like it wasn't clear if it was a sequel at all. And I just got to a scene where the daughter of two of the main characters from the first book showed up and introduced herself, and based on the back of the book, she's also the love interest, and I'm just so excited that I actually teared up. I guess I'm just a huge book nerd. Okay, so hotel stay number 1. Love the artwork. We're staying in the historic Wolf Creek Lodge, something like that. I'll put the right name here. And I would say somewhere between a third and halfway through A Ruthless Lady's Guide to Wizardry. And it's such a good book. And I've read one other book by this author before, Unnatural Magic. And I think what I realized is that the plots are almost episodic. Like there is overarching connection, but you always have little, like they'll learn something and that sort of arc will end, and then they'll go somewhere else and learn something else. And the real through line, like the plot's good and the plot isn't just, hanging for everything else, but the real through line is the characters and their relationships and how they grow as people. And it's just so amazing. Anyway, I read a lot today. Very excited to read more tomorrow. We've stopped at a rest stop and I've been reading more of The Ruthless Lady's Guide to Wizardry. And something I don't think I've mentioned, the chapter titles are really long and very amusing and also like a little misleading. Just very cleverly done and enjoyable. This is exactly what I'm talking about. I finished the second to last chapter and then had to take a break to go to dinner with my family, but that's fine because the main plot, wrapped up. So we're good there. Really well-paced book. I was worried, that it was gonna end on a cliffhanger, but it didn't, which is always nice. Fill you in on the rest when I finish. I finished it. Really good book. I really liked the ending. Really well-paced, good characters, good development. I would maybe want the mom subplot wrapped up a little in a more satisfying way, but everything else in this book was great. I don't know if I would say it's better than Unnatural Magic, but it definitely holds the course. After a night of staying with my uncle and taking a break from driving, I think I'm going to move on to Sourdough by Robin Sloan. This tells the story of a female engineer who ends up baking sourdough bread, which, is basically the story of my life. So I think it'll be a fun read. So I'm behind with Dracula Daily, and now I'm wondering if I should spend today reading and catching up on that. Maybe I'll start there to ease myself back into reading, since it's been a full 24 hours since I last read something. I just realized that it would be extremely appropriate for me to read Tales of Mundane Magic Volume 3 right now, because we are doing the exact opposite of what Gertie and Britta did in that book, which is to say they drove across their country to drop off an object, and we are driving across our country, vertically to pick up some objects. So yeah, but I wrote that book, so also it would probably not hold my interest. Third stop, we're in San Luis Obispo tonight, and after I finished Dracula Daily, I actually just napped in the car while I'm waiting for my phone to charge before dinner. I'm finally gonna start this. It's such a good book. It's made me tear up like 2 or 3 times already. It just feels so accurate. I guess I'm like a quarter of the way through. It's really, really good so far. Hey James, where are we going?
We are going to Los Angeles.
Yeah! Anyway, this book makes me emotional at every turn. See you in the City of Angels, or you know, smog. What a beautiful book. I am delighted. I don't know what I was expecting, but it wasn't this. But this was great. If you're someone who has a day job, you don't really know how you feel about it, I just can't recommend this book enough, honestly. It was beautifully written, beautiful story. Yeah, great read. We're in day 3 of LA, which is not supposed to happen. I actually ended up in the emergency room yesterday. I am fine. I thought I was having a gallbladder attack that lasted for like 10 hours, but turned out it was just really, really bad acid reflux. I'm just gonna be taking it a little easy for a bit. I haven't started a new book yet though after sourdough, so I'll probably have an Instagram poll about which one I should start next, and we'll see what you say. I'm kind of not surprised that this one won my poll because, you know, pirate romance is big nowadays. So I'll read this on our drive down to Irvine and fill you in. Good morning, and please forgive my hair. I've just taken a shower. So last night, I think you could probably tell it was dark outside, and once we got on the freeway, my husband could not let me have the light on in the car. I should probably invest in a reading light type thing for that situation. But from the little that I was able to read, I think I might have misunderstood the book title. The book subtitle is The Romance and the Reality of Life Among the Pirates. And I assumed that meant there'd be romance in it, but I think what the author was trying to communicate was that like, oh, there's the fiction of the romance of the pirates, and that's not real. People have romanticized pirates. Pirates were mean, bad people. I'm gonna keep reading a little bit more this morning, but if that's what it is, if I'm right, I'm probably not gonna finish this book just because it doesn't seem very fun in that case. Okay, I haven't read it in my book, but can you blame me? There's a really cute dog here, and we're gonna go get breakfast. Okay, I'm gonna force myself to read. I'm going to read. The dog is distracted. No, don't come over here. I'm going to read. I'm so bored. This book is so boring. It's just a nonfiction book about pirates. There's nothing fun about it. I'm so disappointed by this book. If you know of any pirate romances, please comment them below. I'm gonna read Dangerous Liaisons because that was the second choice in the poll. Yes, I am lying on the sofa. So this copy of Dangerous Liaisons is the same one that I read in high school, and it has all of my annotations. And I totally forgot that the very first page, like the title page, has an annotation about what a liaison is. So it means the contact with someone else, a person who initiates or maintains contact, an illicit sexual relationship, or thickening for sauces and soups. But the first 3 all work with the Dangerous Liaisons in the title. This is a book about 2 terrible people just making life awful for, you know, quote, good, unquote, people. So like, I know what I'm getting into. It's really well written. I really like the styles, how they change between characters. We are back on the road, and yes, we have picked up a lot of the furniture. We're heading down to San Diego now, and we're gonna hit traffic, so I can read more of this. So I woke up a little early, and I ended up doing some reading. This book, it's so good. In the beginning of the book, the author states 2 themes, and one of them was something like, a mother should be careful with whom she entrusts her child, as if saying that like, oh, it's Cecil's mother's fault that Cecil trusted Mertuil, and that's how she became like corrupted. But honestly, like reading Mertuil's backstory and the fact that like she was also very secluded and like not told anything and not taught about sex and relationships, I think that's really the message, that parents should like explain things to their kids and not, you know, avoid them or think that they won't find out in other ways when there's like a way to safely communicate things like that. It's very easy to be irritated by the two innocent characters when we're seeing things from Valmont and Mortul's point of view, because we know the greater scope of everything. It's really easy to be like, oh, these fools. But the thing is, one of the whole points of the book is how easy it is to deceive people through letters, because you attach your own subtext to them. And I mean, this is something that I've even experienced when I've done emails with people. You can misjudge what their intentions are because you're reading a tone into it. Anyway, it's very easy to blame these two characters for not seeing the truth, but right now I'm trying to be more sympathetic, and I'm trying to think about it like Romeo and Juliet. If the idea is that their love is this pure thing, then I think I can forgive them for their short-sightedness, their naivety. What I can't deal with is the way that Danceny talks to Cecil. It is so annoying. It's manipulative, and that's even more annoying to me than how naive they are. I forgot something that happens in this book because it was so horrible that I blocked it out. And I've written ugh, ugh, ugh. I've written evil. So I remembered that Cecil and Valmont end up sleeping together, but I kind of assumed he seduced her. But no, I mean, he's a bad character. It's a bad thing. Do I not know by this point that people in this book do bad things? I'm gonna try to compartmentalize, move on. So I am at letter 98, which is where Cecil's mom writes to Mortul and basically says, my daughter's so miserable. She must really love Danceny. Am I a horrible mother? Are her only choices unhappiness and sin? I read this and then I realized, oh my God, this story is a tragedy, because this is the point in the tragedy where the story could have worked out. It's the point in Romeo and Juliet when Juliet devises a plan to fake her own death to let her and Romeo be together. It's a tragedy, so you know it's going to fail, but for a second you have to believe it's going to succeed. You have to think there's going to be a happy ending. And this is that. The world that the story takes place in can't allow there to be a happy ending. It's not necessarily a fault of the tragic hero, like hubris. It's a fault of the world and the sexual oppression and the easy manipulation. Okay, I just realized the second half of the tragedy. We know that this is going to happen. We know that there's a chance for a happy ending because we're reading the letters. But the mom still doesn't talk to her daughter. She still doesn't tell the subject of this big choice what's going on. There's a fatal flaw for you. She still doesn't communicate with her child. Yes! Oh, no. Hello, we are back in Irvine. Very late last night. We drove up from San Diego to try to get a head start on traffic. It is 8 in the morning, which is the earliest that we've headed out, and we have a 12-hour day of driving, and then we'll also need to obviously stop and get food. So we're not going to get to wherever we're going, which is variable at this point until pretty late. But the good news is that I still have to finish Dangerous Liaisons, and I have another book to read. I'm going to be entertained. I've got to say that between Dracula Daily and Dangerous Liaisons, I'm coming up with an idea for a new project. Let's see how it goes. Okay, so we finally have Mortul's answer to Madame de Volanges, Cecil's mother. So if you remember, Cecil's mom was like, hey, maybe I should let her marry Danceny instead of this other dude. But Mortul hates this other dude, and so her plan would be completely ruined. And since Cecil's mom wrote to Mortul can manipulate her, and it's a really brilliant letter of manipulation, basically saying oh, well, if people can fall into love so quickly, they can fall out of love really quickly, and they have all these illusions that their love is perfect. That doesn't seem like a very strong foundation for marriage. Arranged marriages are simpler and more sturdy and more virtuous. And I'm just reading it, I'm like, oh my God, I almost believe her. The power of the letter of deception. So this is truly where it starts to go downhill. We're still going uphill though, physically. It's the grapevine. This book is just getting exhausting. I drove for 2 hours, we stopped for a quick lunch, and then I got back in the passenger seat. I've just been reading for a couple hours, and it's just, everyone's so mean, everyone's so sad. I don't think I want to finish this book right now. I know what happens, and it's just sad. It's not even clever anymore. It's just reaping what's been sown.
WPXX879. Motorist traveling on Highway 97 between Regent York and State Line are advised about migration in the area.
What you reading?
Total Impossible Imposter, and I think I've just discovered it's like a sequel.
Oh yeah? Tell me more.
I don't know, seems like it's gonna be a mystery. When I was in the diner reading, I said that I thought this was a sequel. I'm wrong. It's the 7th book in the series.
Sorry.
So I'm debating whether or not I should keep reading it, but I'm really tired from 3 hours of driving, and I need something to occupy my mind. So I think I'm gonna keep going, but at some point when it's a series, even if it's episodic, if there's like canon, if there's lore, and the main character has to like explain it to you, but also not bore readers who've read the whole series. Like in my experience, it just gets a little bit like exposition-y, and I understand as an author, it is hard not to do that. You know, when you have anything more than Sherlock and Watson or Poirot, and I read 15 Poirot books. I can't remember his main sidekick guy. Anyway, my point is I'm not super enjoying the book yet. It's still kind of like explaining a lot about these characters and their dynamic, but I don't have another book to read besides The End of Dangerous Liaisons, and I don't want to read that. It's the last day of driving. Last night we entered Oregon, and immediately we went from like dry mountains to trees and greenery everywhere. It feels a lot more like home. I didn't end up reading a ton last night. It got dark pretty quickly, and then we basically got to our little inn room and fell asleep so quickly. I probably won't finish the book, but that's okay. Back in the Pacific Northwest. I will say having an insect hunter / scientist is like a great detective choice, because obviously she's familiar with things like cyanide and poisons and methods of, you know, killing things such that it doesn't actually disturb the body, and also is a scientist, so knows about how the body works and stuff like that. I do find that a very cool character. If I am to believe some of the descriptions of the past adventures of these two characters, the mysteries that they normally go on are like dangerous and, you know, adventurous and stuff. But we've already solved this mystery like really fast. We're, you know, 109 pages in. Like, she's done with what she was hired to do, so what more of a mystery is there? And like, how is it gonna be more violent? I don't know. So we're back home. All of the furniture and books and other things that we brought home with us, we are slowly finding places for around the house. And honestly, I would call this trip a huge success. Not just in terms of the friends we saw or the places we stopped, but also just the enjoyment that I got out of it. I haven't had such a successful reading period in my life since high school, maybe even middle school. I read 2 full books on the road. I nearly finished a 3rd, and a couple days after we got home, I did finish An Impossible Imposter. In case you're curious, my grades for the books are An Impossible Imposter. I would rate that 3 stars. The plot did eventually get going and the writing style was kind of cool, but I was kind of bored, and worse than that, it felt like the characters kind of were. The narration often stressed how, oh, this had all happened before, this wasn't the most interesting kidnapping we've experienced, which, I don't know, as a reader, kind of made it less fun for me. Dangerous Liaisons, I would rate a big old 5 out of 5. But with a lot of content warnings, because that book, it's a little disturbing. The Ruthless Lady's Guide to Wizardry, the sequel to Unnatural Magic, I would rate a 4.5 out of 5. It was really good, great writing style, great characters. I just think it lost some of the zing that was in Unnatural Magic. But I completely understand, sequels are hard to write. And finally, Sourdough, top of my list, 5 out of 5. Everyone should go read it immediately, especially with the sourdough craze, specifically during the pandemic, but also just this sort of feeling of our jobs not being what we want out of our lives during this period. I think this book can just resonate with a lot of people and just help you know that you're not alone. That's all for my reading road trip. I hope you liked it. What books do you like to read in the car? Do you do something else because you get motion sickness on the road? And also, don't forget about those pirate romance books because I need them. Comment below, let me know, and I'll see you next time. Cheers!